All right, Chapter 6, Lesson 3b is solving fraction equations. And that's your learning target is I know how to solve equations that have fractions. All right, so let's get started here. It's not much different as far as what we've been doing in the past. It's just using fractions instead of decimals or instead of integers. We're trying to solve for the variable, okay? So right here we have 3/4 x equals 12/20. And let's go ahead and zoom in on this a little bit. We have 3/4 x equals 12/20, and we need to check our solution. So in order to get rid of the 3/4 to get x by itself, we're going to have to multiply by the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. Because if we do that, we're gonna cancel out. So I'm gonna rewrite this equation here. We have 3/4 x equals 12/20, and I want to multiply by 4/3 on both sides to keep the equation balanced. And when I do that, the 4's and the 3's will cancel out, so I'm just left with x on this side. And over here, we can do a little cross canceling. This is going to be 1. This will be 4, because 3 goes into itself 1 time, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 goes into itself once, and 4 goes into 25 times. And so actually what I'm left with here is x equals 4/5. Okay, and if we actually were to check our work here, and we were to plug in 4/5, so I'm going to write that over here, and we took 3/4 and we multiplied that by 4/5. 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 5 is 20. That checks out. We know that that's right. Okay, let's do example 2. For example 2, we actually have to find the common denominator, because this is an addition problem, and when we're adding or subtracting fractions, we have to have a common denominator. You don't have to for multiplying or dividing, but for fractions or adding and subtracting fractions, you do. So our common denominator here I know is going to be 18, because 9 times 2 is 18. Therefore, we're going to multiply that by 2, and we're going to get a negative 14, because 7 times 2 is 14, and 9 times 2 is 18. Plus d equals 5/18. Okay, now we just got to get rid of that fraction. We have to get rid of the fraction because we want d by itself. And so to do that, we're actually going to have to add 14/18 because we have a negative, so because it's negative, we need to add it. And we're going to add 14/18 to both sides, excuse me. And I'm going to rewrite it over here now. So that is just going to be d equals 5/18 plus 14/18. I know my denominator is going to stay the same at 18, and the numerator is 5 plus 14 is 19, or 1 and 1/18. So d equals 19/18, or 1 and 1/18. And there you go. Now you can see it. All right, one last example now. So this says Valerie needs 2/3 yard of fabric to make each hat for the school play. Write and solve an equation to find how many hats she can make with 6 yards of fabric. Okay, so we know that it takes 2/3 of a yard to make a hat, to make each hat for the school. So we're going to have 2/3 times x, or we could put h, just some variable to understand that what we're trying to do is it's 2/3 times each hat, and we need to make 6 yards. Okay, now all we have to do is we have to solve for x, and to do that, because these are multiplying, then we have to get rid of it. So technically we're dividing, and remember, if we divide by itself, that's really just flip multiplying, right? 2/3 divided by 2/3 is really 3/2 times 2/3. Those will cancel out, and remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we're going to multiply by 3/2 over here too. This is going to be x on this side. And we can cross cancel. 2 goes into itself once, and it goes into 6 3 times. So 3 times 3 is 9. Or what we really need to say is that Valerie can make 9 hats with 6 yards of fabric. And that is all that we're doing. Cool. Enjoy. See ya.